What's up, everybody? Welcome to another World Cup recap here on Touchline Talk. Before I jump in, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss all of my upcoming videos. And you can find my written work on Substack by scanning that QR code that is right next to me on the screen. You can get all of that content delivered directly to your inbox, so be sure to check that out as well. Argentina through to the World Cup final 3-0. It was a fitting scoreline. This game was not competitive really in any way, shape, or form, which is one of the things I want to get to later. But I want to start with the beginning of this game in terms of kind of where this went wrong for Croatia. The first 10, 15 minutes, maybe even a little bit longer than that, neither team was doing much of anything. But in particular, Argentina were posing no kind of threat attack-wise. I mean, Messi was touching the ball a little bit, but was doing absolutely nothing to really scare Croatia. Julian Alvarez wasn't getting into the game. Croatia, you could argue, had the better chances. They were very low-quality chances. But it looked for a little bit at the beginning like this was going exactly the way Croatia wanted. And not that Argentina were bothered by it, necessarily. But I'm always looking at this from the underdog perspective, especially these two semifinals. And I talked about this a little bit leading up to these games in terms of, can you make this play out the way you want to? Because there's a formula to the way that Croatia do this. There's a formula to the way Morocco do this. And it was going to plan for Croatia. Not that they were causing Argentina any problems, but they also were very comfortable, and they're more than comfortable playing in these kind of games. They've proven it time and time again. And then, out of nowhere, Julian Alvarez finds a way to split those center backs, get behind them, and it's a penalty. Right call. Needs to be called more. Messi converts, and all of a sudden it's 1-0. Which is not a big deal for Croatia because Croatia have made a living coming back from deficits. Time and time and time again. But what was really interesting to me about this game, that really became the story of the game, is that one moment, that one goal, which Croatia have been so good at not letting snowball, at being able to bounce back from, completely changed this game. This game was never the same after that goal. Soon after that, Alvarez scores again. I mean, it was just a comedy of errors in terms of players attempting to get the ball out of his path. It's not like he was beating most of those guys. He just kind of kept moving forward, and the ball just sort of kept following him, and all of a sudden, it falls nicely to his foot, and he's able to slide it home. Terrific effort from him. Great run. But there's no way in the world he should have gotten past those guys. It was not a situation like on the third goal where Messi just humiliated Joško Gvardiol, who has had a phenomenal tournament, is one of the best young defenders in the world, going to have a terrific career. Very good player. It happens to the best of them. That's just how good Messi is. That's how good Messi was in this game. It was not like that was a piece of individual brilliance from Alvarez where he was just dismantling defenders one by one. He just kind of bungled his way through there and somehow ended up with the ball, and it somehow ended up in the back of the net. That's the kind of stuff you don't see from this Croatia team. And it's not necessarily that they panicked, but they were just making even the first goal, but specifically the second one. These uncharacteristic mistakes. They weren't creating anything in attack, and they just let the game get away from them. Which is the one thing they have done so well during these runs to the semifinals of these two World Cups, is they concede plenty of opening goals, but they never go away. They never sort of let the game get out of reach. And, I mean, technically they were still in it after that second goal, but it never felt like they were going to get back into this game. And then from the Argentina side of this is a team that always seems to have these 2-goal leads in this tournament. Mexico, Poland, Australia, Netherlands, and this game. And one of the big questions, one of the big talking points in terms of this Argentina team, and you heard it brought up on the broadcast time and time again, and it was something I also mentioned pregame. I thought Argentina did a really good job controlling proceedings in the group stage in those Poland and Mexico games. Never really looked like they were in any kind of danger. Then you get to Australia. Australia gets a goal back and nearly gets a second. Very, very shaky finish from Argentina. And then, of course, you have what happened against the Netherlands, where they concede 2 goals and it nearly cost them their World Cup. This was much, 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 much more in the group stage vein in terms of being able to control a game, making sure this never got interesting. Now, the other part of this is they did get that third goal thanks to Messi. That is something that hadn't been happening, but they had also been comfortably seeing out these 2 goal leads. And then all of a sudden, something happened in the Australia game, and then it got even worse in the Netherlands game. And you simply cannot win a World Cup if you're going to start endangering those kind of leads in the round of 16. You're not going to get away with that round of 16, quarterfinal, semifinal, final. And that's assuming you have leads in all of those games. You have got to be able to see. You're going to have shaky moments. Things are going to happen. Weird goals are going to go in. You're going to have set pieces like the one the Dutch scored on. But you can't let that continue to happen. And that's what Argentina did so well in this game. It was 2-0. It felt like it was over. It was 3. It was definitely over. They went to the back 3. It didn't invite a bunch of pressure. It allowed them to sort of see this game out. Didn't really hamper their ability to attack. It was just dominance from start to finish in a way that you have not seen from very many teams in this tournament. Outside of your explosions from Portugal, from France to a certain extent, from England. This was, and the other part of this that I want to get on for a second. Now, right, FIFA's introduced this new possession metric where now in contest is part of the 100%. So it's not going to, the two teams aren't going to add up to 100. But Argentina had 35% of the possession in this game. Again, that's excluding the in contest part. That was, I think it was 44, 45 or something like that in the Netherlands game, and every other game, Argentina had at least 50% of the possession. 35% in this game. And this was easily their best, most dominant performance of the tournament so far. And so this is where I want to have a conversation about what it really means when coaches say, I don't care about possession. Because this game is how you render possession essentially meaningless. I mean, Croatia had more shots. Half of them came from outside the box. Every good scoring chance basically in this game, or at least the ones you're going to remember, all were Argentina's. Argentina had, I think it was a 7-2 shots advantage in shots on goal. In terms of creating chances, it was far and away Argentina. It wasn't like they were just doing this on the counter. They were just picking their moments and were staying organized and just letting Croatia pass the ball around in non-dangerous areas. And Croatia could not do anything to actually make all of that possession dangerous. So you had both sides of it. You had the defensive organization and the ability to actually create chances and then take them, which is something, for example, Morocco have really struggled with. They can be compact all they want, and they can annoy you to no end like they did Spain by just sitting there and keeping the ball in front of them. But they've been one of the worst attacking teams in this tournament in terms of expected goals and goals scored and stuff like that. Argentina could have had 3 in the first half and definitely deserved 3 on the game. And so this was, because part of me just despises this I don't care about possession thing. Not that you need possession to be successful. You can be the better team without having possession. Morocco have proved that. And the Philadelphia Union make a living off of that, for example. But the idea that you can actually dominate a game in terms of what is going on the field, who feels like they're in control, with 35% of the possession, is something that is incredibly, incredibly difficult to do. Because a lot of the times, it's, they were never uncomfortable, they just kind of sat back defensively. And, they got a goal in the beginning of the game, were able to sit back. That's why they only had 35% possession. That's just not what happened in this game. I just don't agree with this idea that possession doesn't matter at all. Because 95 plus percent of the time, possession at least tells you something about how the game is being played, who is dictating the terms of the game, right? Spain dictated the terms of that game against Morocco. Now, they did absolutely nothing with the ball. But that possession stat tells you something about how that game went. It tells you Spain did a lot of nothing, but had the ball all the time. And that Morocco were not able to really get out and create a bunch of chances. This game tells you Argentina created better chances, created more quality chances, and were much better defensively. That trio is very, very difficult to get. And yes, they were technically outshot in the game because of the possession. But we all know that doesn't really matter. And like I said, half of Croatia's shots from outside the box. I mean, Dejan Lovren, I think, was tied for the team lead with 3 shots. It is so... That's the other thing I want to give Argentina credit for, is finding a way to be that dynamic with that little of the ball is incredibly difficult to do. You can certainly win without having that kind of possession, but so much has to go right for you to look this good with 35% of possession. And then, and that also is interesting to me in terms of who does Argentina play next in this final. Are you talking about a France team that, while they want to get out in transition, also theoretically would have a lot of the ball and let Argentina play more of this game, potentially, that they looked so comfortable carrying out a game plan for? Or are you getting Morocco, who is going to give you 60, maybe it's 55, something in their percent of the possession, and make you break them down, as opposed to the other way around? You've seen Argentina be able to dominate the possession against the Polands, against the Mexicos, against the Australias, and by and large look pretty good doing so. And now you have seen them concede possession and look brilliant doing so. That bodes well because you've got 2 completely different games you're looking at, depending on who wins the second semifinal. So that was another big story I wanted to highlight out of this game. I also just want to take a minute to talk about Julian Alvarez. I know everybody's freaking out about Messi. He was brilliant. That was... what he did on that assist was just incredible. And so I felt that it was unfair to not give him part of my Player of the Game award, so I just gave it to both of them. Call it cheating if you want. But until that moment happened and Messi just so clearly had the moment of the game, I was giving my Player of the Game award to Alvarez. And ultimately where I came down on it was Messi was clearly the best player on the field, but Alvarez was the most important. He drew the penalty. A lot of it just because of his ability to see that run and to make that run and then to get the ball over the goalkeeper and draw that penalty. The second one was all him. Just individual effort, carrying the ball down the field, finding a way to get the ball into the back of the net when nobody really stopped him from just moving in a straight line. And then there's also, the other runs he made into the channel. The work rate, the stuff he gave you defensively, he was phenomenal. And he gives you not only somebody, this was the first time an Argentine player had scored multiple goals in a Men's World Cup game since Messi did in the group stage in 2014. He gives you another goal scorer that allows Messi to kind of sit back more and play the more creator role, which is what you've seen some of in this tournament. Yes, he's getting goals from the penalty spot, he's chipping in here or there, but you also have a guy who can be that other goal scorer that has been missing, despite the talent that's been at the striker position outside of Messi. You haven't seen somebody really feel, and Lisandro Martinez started to do that kind of Copa America these last couple of years. But finding somebody that can get you goals like that, that can do all of the running to allow Messi to just pick his spots, is an incredibly valuable asset for this Argentina team. I thought Alvarez was superb, and not just because of the goals he scored, because that is the second one was all because of Messi. The first one probably shouldn't have happened, but he made somebody stop him. Nobody did. it was the overall body of work that I was really impressed with that I want to give him credit for. And I mean, there's just nothing to say about Messi. That was when you get guys around him playing really well and him playing really well, this is the result. They were superb. There just really isn't a lot to say. They were dominant from start to finish in a way that you don't see very often in these kind of games. And like I've mentioned, you don't see from a team that gets outpossessed that much, that is able to just dominate every single facet of the game, win every individual battle. The fullbacks were good. The center backs were fine. The midfielders were good. The forwards were superb. Luka Modric had some moments. Not a bad overall performance, but he just wasn't able to impact the game the way he needed to. And you got nothing out of the strikers from Croatia. They didn't really Martinez had to make one important intervention that I don't even think got credited as a save because the ball deflected and he punched it away. It wasn't actually directly off of a shot. It was just over after the second goal. That 20-minute stretch. I don't even think it was that many. From that first goal to halftime. It could have been 3-0, and you could kind of tell it was over. Croatia never looked like they were getting back in this game. And that is so the opposite of everything you've come to expect out of this team. Maybe they just ran out of energy, continuing to use the same guys game after game. But also, you've got to give a lot of that credit to Argentina. They just did not let Croatia take an inch and feel like they even had a chance that maybe they could get a goal and make this interesting. They had two. They went and got themselves a third thanks to Messi, and that was that. So, congratulations, Argentina. Messi is going to get another shot at a World Cup final. Very, very, very impressive performance as Argentina get the 3-0 win over Croatia. That is all for this recap. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.